What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over Hobgoblin. We are covering the origin of Hobgoblin, and we have to go through a bunch of stories to learn who was the actual Hobgoblin. Now, with that all being said, we're going to jump into an X-Men event called XMen Inferno. It was a Marvel event back in the 1990s, I want to say, but it did have a bunch of tie-ins, and the Spider-Man tie-ins are actually very important when it comes to who was the Hobgoblin supposed to be. So, with that being said, we're going to cover the first three tie-ins for the Inferno event for Spider-Man, which was Spectacular Spider-Man number 146, Web of Spider-Man number 47, and Amazing Spider-Man number 312. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and dive into the Inferno event for Spider-Man. Now, to break down what was X-Men Inferno, it was a big Marvel event back in the 1990s, but long story short, demons have taken over Manhattan, and the demons began to possess different items across the city. So for example, we have Spider-Man right now just trying to swing in the city, trying to go home, except he's then attacked by a demon that has possessed an air vent. Yes, an air vent from a building turns into some kind of creature that actually tries to kill Spider-Man. And so after a few pages, you do have Spider-Man being able to defeat this monster, but he's wondering what in the world is going on. Now, really, the demon thing for the whole Spider-Man Inferno tie-ins is actually kind of not that important, really. It's the backup plot. The main plot is really Hobgoblin for the first video we're going to do over X-Men Inferno Spider-Man. You'll see what I mean here as we go through this book. There is something I do want to mention. With this video right here, we have skipped over a lot of Spider-Man comics since our last video, which was Amazing Spider-Man number 289. But after that issue right there we covered in our last video, a lot of things happened. One thing was Mary Jane and Peter Parker got married, which is very huge. But right now, we see that Mary Jane is taking care of a young girl named Christy. Now, Christy is actually not that important. She was a character Marvel made for some strange reason. And right now, Christy is here because she kind of ran away from her mother so she could stay with Peter Parker and Mary Jane. And honestly, she does kind of have a little crush on Peter Parker. It's weird. Now, we do get a page to tell us what is new with Robbie Robertson since our last video, someone who works for the Daily Bugle. And we just learned that he had a run-in with Tombstone that left him badly injured, and so right now he needs a cane just to walk around. And that's really it, honestly. There are a few other things, but not really important at all. What is actually important is Harry Osborn. Now remember, at this point right now, Harry Osborn is not the Green Goblin. He is just your regular day guy. Matter of fact, he got married to Liz Allen and they had a son. And he's supposed to be this normal person. But in the last couple years of Marvel Comics up to this point, every single time Hobgoblin comes around, his mind begins to slip back. And for Peter Parker, he's worried that Harry Osborn could take up the mantle as the Green Goblin once again. Because at this point, Harry Osborn now remembers that his father was the Green Goblin, but he doesn't remember that he was the Green Goblin. And so we kind of see him having some nightmare in these next couple pages, and he's wondering what these nightmares are about. And we're going to find out at the very end of this issue what those nightmares were trying to tell him. Now, getting back over to Peter Parker, this is the reason why I brought up Christy, because there's this awkward moment where Peter Parker is showering and Christy walks in and actually sees Peter Parker naked. It is honestly weird to me, and I have no idea why Marvel added this part in here for, but it's actually really weird. But anyways, you do have Peter Parker get a call from Harry Osborn, and this is Peter Parker having Harry Osborn asking him to meet up because Harry Osborn is freaking out because he's having these nightmares over and over again, and he needs someone to talk to, and his best friend is Peter Parker. Now, I'm going to skip over a lot of pages, and the reason why, because they're pointless. I want to focus on Hobgoblin because this story is honestly really good, and it kind of gets fluffed up a little bit because you have extra things on the side that actually don't matter. But we do pick up with Harry Osborn meeting up with Peter Parker, and this is Harry Osborn telling Peter Parker that ever since him, Liz Allen, and their son have moved in the house where Harry Osborn had grown up in, the nightmares have begun. And for Peter, he's wondering why Harry moved in that house, but also for Peter, he's wondering, will these nightmares lead back to Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin again? Will his mind break? Will Peter Parker have to fight his old friend once again? But before we learn what those nightmares are actually about, well, that is when you have those demons I mentioned earlier that has taken over the city to begin possessing things across the city, begin to possess different things at Norman Osborn's old factory. And so right now we have a factory actually attacking Harry Osborn and Peter Parker. And so of course you do have Peter Parker change into his Spider-Man outfit to go back out there to save his best friend. But after a few pages of Spider-Man saving Harry Osborn, he does see someone flying off. That one person that is flying off is of course Hobgoblin. But the question is, why was Hobgoblin there for? What is Hobgoblin planning? Now, this is the moment we actually learn what those nightmares Harry Osborn is having. Because you have Harry Osborn say in his nightmare, the same thing happened over and over again. Something telling him to go look in the mirror, and then he freaks out. Except this time, when Harry Osborn wakes up, he walks into the bathroom to get a glass of water. That is when he looks in the mirror. And of course, what he sees is the Green Goblin. This is the moment right here where Harry Osborn remembers that he was the second Green Goblin. But this is just the beginning of this amazing story I really actually like. Now, getting into the Web of Spider-Man number 47, this is the issue that brings in Hobgoblin. Now, I want to explain who this Hobgoblin is. This is Jason Macendale, technically the third Hobgoblin, because back when Marvel first made Hobgoblin and you had fans guessing who it could be, it was supposed to be Roderick Kingsley. But thanks to Spider-Man vs. Wolverine, Amazing Spider-Man number 289, Marvel at the last second changed it to be Ned Leeds. Ned Leeds was working at the Daily Bugle and was married to Betty Brant. Betty Brant being one of the ex-girlfriends of Peter Parker. But the reason why Ned Leeds became the Hobgoblin was because his wife had nightmares because she lost her brother thanks to Spider-Man fighting against one of his villains. But long story short, Ned Leeds felt like he should go out there, become the Hobgoblin to kill Spider-Man to make things right for his wife Betty because she lost her brother. But then Ned Leeds was killed by the Foreigner. Foreigner was a top-notch assassin that Jason Macendale, the current Hobgoblin, hired to kill off Ned Leeds, because Jason Macendale was actually another villain known as Jack-o'-lantern. But Jack-o'-lantern was always getting his butt kicked by Hobgoblin, and so he hired Foreigner to kill off Ned Leeds so that he could become the Hobgoblin. And so this is technically right now Jason McIndale Hobgoblin. That's why I say it's so complicated. But with Hobgoblin coming back to this factory, it is him looking for something. We do not get to know what he is looking for until the very end of this issue, but it does lead into Spider-Man and Jason McIndale fighting against each other at the factory. But the fight is then stopped because remember, demons have taken over the city and another demon has appeared as some kind of weird rock monster that begins to attack Spider-Man. And so that gives Hobgoblin the chance to escape. But then Spider-Man is able to defeat this rock monster and also leave the factory site. Now, we do see Spider-Man head over to Aunt May's house because he has dinner plans with Aunt May, Mary Jane, Christy, and some other random people that I truly do not care for. But honestly, it's just an average dinner with him catching up with Aunt May, making sure she's okay, spending time with his wife, Mary Jane, and there's Christy, this annoying little girl that I really wish Marvel just kind of pushed to the side. But anyways, you do have Spider-Man realize that, hey, you know what? I should probably check up on Harry Osborn because in the last issue, Dude was having nightmares. His factory became some kind of weird live creature. And now I'm being attacked by Hobgoblin. Yeah, I should definitely go check up on Harry Osborn. And so he leaves to go check up on Harry. And so you do have Spider-Man swing over to check up on Harry Osborn and Liz Allen. He does change into his Peter Parker clothes because this is supposed to be a nice visit to check up on his friends, except unfortunately, you have Hobgoblin appear and beginning to attack the home of Harry Osborn and Liz Allen. And the reason why he is doing that is because he wants Harry to tell him where he can find a certain item. Again, we have no idea what this item is, but of course, Hobgoblin wants it. And so you have Peter Parker change back into his Spider-Man outfit so that he can actually fight against this monster. Not monster, well yeah, I guess he's a monster because he's a bad guy. But either way, you do have Hobgoblin and Spider-Man fighting against each other for a few pages. Except then you have Harry Osborn realize to protect his friend and his wife and also his son, he tells Hobgoblin, the item that you are looking for is back in my office, back in Manhattan. It's in a safe. Just go there, take it, and leave my family alone. And so you have Hobgoblin leave. And you also have Spider-Man leave as well to kind of chase after Hobgoblin. But this is Harry Osborn once again slipping because now his family has been attacked. And the night before, he had another nightmare where he began the process of remembering that he was the Green Goblin, the second Green Goblin after his father. And there is a reason why I said he began slipping, because you have Harry Osborn go back into the attic, and thanks to his father's notes that he had, he knows where to find a secret Green Goblin outfit to put on. This is Harry Osborn once again becoming the Green Goblin because Hobgoblin attacked his family and he's going to go deal with the Hobgoblin. But there is a small twist here with Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin. Now, like I said, there is a twist when it comes to Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin once again. But we do pick up with Amazing Spider-Man number 312. This is the Green Goblin fighting against Hobgoblin. Now, with the twist I was mentioning earlier, Harry Osborn is not completely bad guy. He's actually good guy. Yes, his mind is slipping back towards becoming the Green Goblin, the bad guy Green Goblin. But right now, He's a good guy, Green Goblin. It's him saying, I'm going to go out there, fight against Hobgoblin to stop him, but also because he attacked my family. This man needs to be stopped. And so this is Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin, but as a good guy. But you do have Green Goblin being able to catch up to Hobgoblin, because remember, Harry Osborn told Hobgoblin the item that he is looking for, which we have no idea what it is yet, is at the office in a safe. But you do have Green Goblin and Hobgoblin begin a fight between each other. And this was something fans always wanted when Hobgoblin first popped up. Can we get a fight with Green Goblin fighting against Hobgoblin? And fans realized it was possible because Harry Osborn was still alive. And Harry Osborn could become the Green Goblin any moment. And so here we are. It's Green Goblin fighting against Hobgoblin. And this fight is honestly pretty cool, but we have to focus on some other things in this story to set up later videos down the road. Now, there is a page where you have Peter Parker getting a letter from Liz Allen saying that she is worried about Harry Osborn and so that he should go see if Harry is okay. Now, if you are wondering why in the world did Liz Allen send a letter and not just call up Peter Parker, well, remember, the city is being attacked by a bunch of demons right now, and so phone lines are off. And so this is the only way for Liz Allen to get a hold of Peter Parker, through a letter. But it is Peter Parker saying, okay, let me go check up on my friend. But before we can do that, we got to go pick up with Mary Jane, because Mary Jane is about to be in some trouble. Now, right now we see her doing some kind of photo shoot because she is a model. But then the jewelry that she is wearing becomes alive. And you're wondering, why is it alive? Why is it attacking her? Remember, demons again have taken over the city, but demons can possess different items across the city. And right now, demons have possessed the jewelry on her and also other items in the photo shoot room. And so right now, you have Mary Jane and her crew freaking out and wondering what in the world they should do. And so this is the moment where we get to see Hobgoblin fighting against the Green Goblin, something fans always wanted to see. Like I said earlier, fans wanted this, but now you have Spider-Man involved, and Spider-Man is going to team up with the Green Goblin, something that is rare to see in Spider-Man comics. But this is also the moment we learn what Jason McIndale Hobgoblin has been looking for, which was the Goblin formula. Let me explain. So, Norman Osborn made the Goblin formula, and that made him become the Green Goblin. Now, it did make him go insane, but it also gave Norman Osborn super strength. Now, go over to Hobgoblin in the 1980s. When it came to Ned Leeds, because at this point in Marvel Comics, they're saying Ned Leeds was the original Hobgoblin. Ned Leeds technically got the Goblin formula as well. And he also became super strong. And he became a powerful threat for Spider-Man. But for Jason McIndale, remember, he was Jack-o'-lantern. And Jack-o'-lantern was a character no one really cared for. He was always easily beaten by Hobgoblin and also Spider-Man. And so Jason McIndale hired someone to kill off Ned Leeds so he could become the Hobgoblin. But the thing is, he does not have the Goblin formula to give him that super strength. So once again, he is technically a nobody going up against Spider-Man. Even Spider-Man realized, hey, this is Jason McIndale. He was Jack-o'-lantern, someone he always defeated so easily. But this is the moment you have Harry Osborn tell Jason McIndale, dude, listen, if the Goblin formula was still around, I would use it right now on me to get rid of you because you attacked my family. And that made Jason McIndale realize Harry is serious. The Goblin formula is no longer around. Now, Harry has no idea that Ned Leeds actually used it, but is Jason Macendale realizing the item that he has been looking for is not here? So he leaves. And you also have Harry Osborn realize he should go check up on his family since the city is right now being attacked by a bunch of demons. So he also leaves. And it does leave Spider-Man wondering, hey, will Harry Osborn be okay? We all know he won't be. But for right now, Harry Osborn is okay. But you do have Spider-Man realize he should go check up on Mary Jane. Because remember, Mary Jane right now was being attacked by some demons. And matter of fact, we're going to cover that in the next video, Inferno Part 2. Because that's a storyline where we have Hobgoblin get an upgrade and begin the process of bringing in a third goblin. And also Spider-Man saving his lady as well. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video.